السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله العلي الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى. أشهد أنه لا إله إلا هو له الأسماء الحسنى، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صاحب المقام المعلى. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي أشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري. صدق الله العظيم. Honorable scholars, respected brothers, mothers, sisters, if we have to assess the Ummah today, we will realize that we are bigger in number than ever before. 2 billion and counting. They say within the next decade or two, Muslims will be the largest in number in terms of religious classification. Then further, the Ummah is not only bigger now than ever before, the Ummah is richer now than ever before. Collectively as a whole, never has the Ummah had as much wealth as Muslims possess today. And an added factor is that if you look at where there are large concentration of Muslims on the globe today, we would find that Muslims are very strategically located, geopolitically and in terms of access to resources. Now that's the story on the one hand. Bigger in number than ever before, richer in wealth than ever before, more strategically located than ever before, yet 2 billion Muslims cannot rescue 1 million victims of genocide in Gaza for almost a year. We are more enslaved, more entrapped, and more incapacitated now than ever before, despite the numbers, despite the wealth, and despite the strategic location. That is something that won't be shocking to you. I've mentioned it just to create context. The bigger question is why? And the even deeper and more important question is, how do we fix it? Now, one of the main reasons as to why the Ummah is bigger and richer yet most incapacitated is because of the lack of adequate leadership. Adequate leadership. And that's what I want to address you on today. During this month of Rabi'ul Awwal, there is a greater focus on the seerah and the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I want to discuss this topic of leadership from the prism and the perspective of what we can learn from the seerah and the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But there's one important clarification that I must make up front. That these discussions are not only for those who hold high political office. No. Leadership is relevant to each one of us. Normally when we talk about the lack of leadership, then we are very ready to attach the blame at the door of others that have broader global political leadership roles to play. And maybe they are blameworthy, but that's not the point. The point is, what they do or don't do is out of my control. What I do or don't do is directly within my control. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has taught us, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مسؤول عن رعيته. Every one of you is a shepherd. Every one of you is responsible for his or her flock. So, in your home, you are a leader. As a parent, you are a leader. As a manager, you are a leader. As an employer, you are a leader. As an imam, you are a leader. As a community activist, you are a leader. So when we have this discussion about enhancing leadership capacity so that we can improve the dynamism and the plight of the ummah, we must not take what is being said and attach it to someone else and say, let's see how they are falling short. Rather, we must internalize it and see, how can I improve? How can I better myself in terms of my leadership abilities and in terms of what I am nurturing in my children or in my students or in my congregants or in my community in as far as leadership is concerned. The first point I want to make is that there is a difference between a leader and a ruler. It's a separate talk, but I'll just mention a few examples in passing. The one difference, a leader emerges amongst people. A ruler campaigns amongst people. A ruler has to come and say, vote for me. And if you vote for me, I'll do A, B, and C. Or I have done X, Y, and Z, that's why you should vote for me. But the leader, he has such qualities, and those qualities radiate in his actions. It doesn't have to campaign much, people gravitate towards him. See, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu did not want to be the successor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, when he addressed the meeting that the Ansar were holding, that here's Umar and here's Abu Ubaidah. Either one of them I would endorse. They said, in your presence, there can be no second. In your presence, no one else is worthier of succeeding Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He did not campaign, yet he emerged. The second difference between a leader and a ruler is a leader derives his appeal from humility. A ruler derives his appeal from superiority. When you hear a man beating his own chest unnecessarily, hitting his own drum, going on and on, I did this, I did that, I said this, I suggested that, then that could be indicative of a superiority complex. Now, I'm better, that's why I deserve to be in charge. A leader, the same Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, I give you his example again. After he was appointed and he gave his first address, which they refer to as the inaugural address. Nowadays, when a president is elected or a prime minister is elected, what they say in the inaugural address, everyone listens. First speech. What was the opening remarks of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu? He said, O Muslims, I have been appointed as ruler over you, although I am not the best of you. Look at his humility. Bil ijma', with the consensus of the ummah, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is the greatest human after the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. Yet, he derives his appeal from humility. He says, oh people, you have appointed me, but I don't consider myself to be the best of you. Look at Musa alayhi salatu wasalam's example, the verses which I recited in my introduction. Allah tells Musa alayhi salam, وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي. O Musa, I have chosen you. The greatest appointment, the greatest promotion is that where Allah makes you a Nabi. Allah elevates you to the position, to the maqam, to the pedestal, to the mantle of Nubuwwah. So Allah says, O Musa, I have chosen you to be a Nabi. You and I, if we were in that position, would say, there must be something in me. Allah is choosing me. Allah knows something about me. Perhaps something I don't know about myself. But not Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. The dua which Musa alayhi salatu wasalam made If you look at the dua that Musa alayhi salatu wasalam makes, Rabbi shrah li sadri. He shows humility. Immediately he turns to Allah and says, Oh Allah, expand my chest. I need your help. وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي. Make my task easy for me. وَحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي. And remove the knot from my tongue. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam had a problem with stuttering. So here they reflect, the scholars, and they say, a leader is more aware of his shortcomings than he is aware of his strengths. A true leader is more focused on improving his shortcomings than gloating about his strengths. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam didn't say, Allah, you chose me, so definitely you'll assist me. He said, Oh Allah, I need your help. اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني. And I have the stuttering problem, so remove the stutter from my tongue. يفقه قولي, so that people can understand me when I convey your message. واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي. Oh Allah, my brother Harun, make him a Nabi also. Why? هو أفصح مني لساني. He is more eloquent in speech than I am. This is a leader. A ruler, if you get the position, you want it for yourself forever. The title, the perks, the benefits, the adulation, the praise, it was meant for me exclusively. A leader, no. Who do I need to help me to get the job done better? Allah, I need the help of my brother Harun because he is a better communicator than I am. Another difference between a leader and a ruler, a leader's hallmark is mercy. A ruler's hallmark is authority. A ruler is the one who says, my way or a highway. A leader is, as Allah Himself describes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. That Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a means of mercy, directly or indirectly, to every living being up to the day of Qiyamah. Doesn't mean you won't have to take tough decisions or be stern and firm at times, of course. But the foundation of your leadership style and approach will be underpinned by mercy, not authority. And when you are merciful, the authority will come. Because people will submit to you willingly. When it's only authority, they submit to you grudgingly. Another difference is that a leader shows unyielding concern, and a ruler demands unyielding compliance. A ruler wants a yabas, just do what I tell you to do. Whereas if you look at how Allah describes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a leader, Azizun alayhi ma anittum. He takes your problem and makes it his own problem. Your difficulty is his difficulty. Harisun alaykum. He's more worried about your well-being than you are worried about your own well-being. So those are just a few qualities which I share with you in passing of a leader in contrast to a ruler. And the point is, endeavor to be a leader, not a ruler. Each one of us is a leader in some capacity or the other. In your home, in your classroom, in your masjid, in your community, in your business. So, as we reflect on these qualities, we have to judge ourselves. That how can I improve? And how can I play my part in terms of the ummah requiring the leadership that is pivotal for us to navigate through these very difficult moments that we find ourselves in. The next point I want to share with you, one of the fundamental things that any leader does is to build spiritual capacity in his people. If you look at it, for 13 years in Makkah, there was no expedition, there was no conquest, there was no establishment of a state, there was no zakat, there was no fasting, there was no Ramadan, there was just building of iman and taqwa, building spiritual capacity. You know, today, it goes without saying that we are divided as an ummah, and we have difference of opinion on almost everything. The only thing that we have unanimity on is that we have difference on everything else. So we are unanimous that we are divided. We all agree on that. Anywhere in the world you go, hey, look at how divided we are. That's why the Ummah is in the plight that it is. It's a point beyond dispute. Now the question is, how do you fix that? Allah Himself tells us about unity in the Quran, right? وَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ. Allah says, I create unity between hearts. It's a bounty from me. And Allah's bounties will come proportionate to your level of obedience to Allah. Taqwa. So if you truly want unification of heart, the foundation has to be obedience to Allah. That's why leaders, they instill first and foremost within their subordinates the spiritual capacity. So as a leader in your home, as a parent, as a leader in your classroom, as a leader in your congregation, in your community, what is the level of the taqwa of those that I'm leading? Why did Yaqub alayhi salam lose his eyesight whilst grieving for Yusuf alayhi salam? Not because he thought his son is dead. No, he knew his son was alive. Because of the interpretation of the dream. But he wasn't sure what is the quality. What is the quality of my son's iman? Is it on par with what is expected of a boy who's born to a Nabi, who's a grandson of a Nabi, who's a great-grandson of a Nabi? That is what bothered him. So today as parents, for example, we want to give our kids the best leadership qualities in terms of IQ, formal qualification. But what about SQ? Their spiritual capacity. The other things are important, but the foundation of it is your relationship with Allah, your sense of identity as a Muslim. You're being a servant to Allah, an abd to Allah first and foremost. So that's what a leader does. He himself has a solid connection with his Maker, and he constantly works on improving the spiritual capacity of the people that he leads. The other quality is that leaders foster healthy relationships between people. I was reading about one US president. He would love it when his ministers would fight and argue and have disputes. Why? Because he felt the more they fought, the more it empowered him as the central figure. The more it made him relevant, the more it made both of them need him. So he would pour fuel on the fire. He would love it that they would have to come to him to resolve their disputes within his cabinet, because it gave him a sense of importance and relevance. That's a ruler. The leader, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is described in the hadith, كَانَ يُصْلِحُ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ إِذَا اخْتَلَفُوا. As soon as there was a dispute between people, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam lost no time in trying to bridge the gap, in trying to resolve the dispute, irrespective of who was right or who was wrong. Many times, it was of no relevance who was right and who was wrong, as long as the dispute got resolved. Famous example. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam comes to visit his favorite daughter, the apple of his eye, the queen of the women of Jannah, Fatimah-uz-Zahra radiyallahu anha. And he finds she's upset. Now you go visit your daughter and you find that she's upset. What's likely to be your reaction? What's the problem of Fatima? No, Ali and I had an argument. If you look at the narration, I haven't come across any wording of the narration when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Oh Fatima, what was the issue?" Or, "Oh Fatima, who was right and who was wrong?" No. What did he ask? Where is Ali? Where is Ali? And he went to look for Ali. And he found him in the masjid. And he was lying on the floor. So he was covered in dust because there was no carpets in Masjid Nabawi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam say? How dare you argue with my daughter? How dare you argue with the apple of the eye of the master of the universe Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? How dare you argue with the queen of the women of Jannah? No. He lovingly said, Abu Turab, O father of the dust. Never asked what was the issue, who was right, who was wrong. Pacified Ali to resolve the dispute and to bridge the gap that happened between the husband and wife. That's a leader. That's what leaders do. They don't pour fuel on the fire. They don't enjoy it, sit back and say, hey, drama, where's the popcorn? Yo, action. We may not, sometimes not physical, sometimes it's digital. You check on the chat room, check, they're going, right? Full steam, each other. You're sending private messages, tell him. That's not a leader. Leaders motivate. A leader is not a grumpy chacha or a mother grumpy all the time talking negative, even though the circumstances may be very negative. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was surrounded by very negative circumstances, no? But what was he saying? In Makkah, what was he saying? No, a time will come when a lady will be able to ride a horse from here to Hadramaut alone and no one will touch her. The circumstances were very negative at Khandaq. No food, stone tied to the belly, no arms to be able to keep the enemy out. They're digging a trench. And he breaks the rock, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he says, a time will come when the treasures of the Roman and Persian Empire will be flowing into Madinatul Munawwarah. A positive outlook to a negative situation. So leaders, you see, any ruler can rule when things are hunky-dory, going well. That's like driving with the car being on cruise control. But a true leader is the one when the chips are down, when people are demoralized, when it looks like there's no hope on the horizon. That's the leader who stands up and he has that internal motivation and he's able to motivate people that don't become passive because of issues. Don't become defeatist. Don't lose hope in Allah. Have conviction in Allah. So a leader is able to motivate with perspective, not just with, cliched language. No, don't worry, all will be well. You must be able to give perspective. You must be able to tell people how to make sense of a topsy-turvy world around them. That is a leader. A leader builds long-term capacity. He doesn't only look at short-term problems. If you study the seerah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you see that even in Makkah, they didn't even have a state yet. They were being persecuted. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was already developing the Sahaba for what was to come later. The fact that Umar was Umar didn't happen by chance. There was a leadership program that he was part of under the supervision of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's why when it became his chance to take over the mantle of leadership, he was able to lead the Ummah in the manner that he led the Ummah. Leaders develop long-term strategy. Today, go to any Muslim function, any Muslim event, Muslim conversation outside the masjid. This is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong. Government is corrupt. The global leaders are betraying us. Okay, all true. Anybody talking about solutions? And anybody developing a strategy? Anybody saying this is our 5-year plan? I'm not saying there's nobody. I'm saying to what extent is it happening? Leaders develop other leaders. I've given this example many times. Umar wanted to kill the Nabi of Allah. The Nabi of Allah didn't write him off. He saw his talent. He made dua of Allah guide him. That Umar who wants to kill the Nabi of Allah, today he lies resting next to the Nabi of Allah. The greatest general, Khalid bin Walid, he was the man who counter-attacked at Uhud. 70 Sahaba lost their lives, including Hamza radiallahu anhu, whose body was mutilated. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't write him off. He said, Khalid, a man of your intelligence, how long is it going to take you to see the beauty of Islam? When he saw the beauty of Islam, the rest, as they say, is history. So in your child, in your student, in that rebellious teenager, all of us need to develop that leadership. Look at the talent and how can we harness the talent. Now here's a very important point. If you don't remember anything else that I tell you this afternoon, remember this. Leaders don't tear down other leaders. They don't run down other leaders. They don't demonize other leaders. You see, this has become a sickness, a cancer in the Ummah. We build people up very quickly. We put them on a pedestal before they even deserve to be on the pedestal. Then if they make a mistake, a genuine mistake, or we perceive them, or somebody has accused them of making a mistake, we get so carried away, we drop them so hard and so fast, and we think we've done a great thing, but we don't realize we have left no role models for our upcoming youth to emulate. Look, you find a youngster who's passionate about cricket, there's some cricketer he idolizes. He's passionate about soccer, there's some soccer star that he idolizes. He's passionate about politics, there's some politician he idolizes. we demonize our community leaders, the leaders within the Muslim Ummah, for perceived faults or even for genuine faults to such an extent that there's no comeback for them. We want to besmirch their reputation beyond redemption. We want to demonize them so that they can never get up. Who are the youth going to emulate? Leaders are not perfect. And when leaders make mistakes, it should not be swept under the carpet, but there's a constructive way of dealing with it. So what do we do? Start a WhatsApp campaign, forward messages. What are we doing? We're ripping apart the leadership fabric in our community. And we say, oh, look what's happening in Gaza. The change starts from the bottom up, not from the top down. When Umar gave his inaugural address, he said something amazing. He said, oh people, Allah will test me through you and Allah will test you through me. What does that mean? I'm not perfect, so sometimes my actions will be a test to you. But then neither are you perfect, because sometimes or many times your actions will be a test for me. That's the relationship between the leader and his constituency. It's not meant to be one of perfection. There are many other points that I can share with you. My time is almost up. I'll just share with you one more and conclude. Leaders inspire courage, but not recklessness. They inspire courage, but not recklessness. You know, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that same example of the trench, they dug a trench, right? When the Meccans came, they realized now, hey, he's outmaneuvered us. They came with bigger numbers, better equipped. So they started to taunt Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They said, oh Muhammad, Arabs don't fight like this. Come, man to man, hand to hand. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said no. He didn't fall for it. No one was more courageous than him, but he was not reckless. So sometimes today we motivate for the kind of activism that's courageous but reckless. You must be very careful. Courage has to go hand in hand with a measured temperament. That's what leadership demands. See, you've got to rise above the petty. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam changed the world in 2 decades. He changed the world in 2 decades. But that was because he was not narrow-minded and he was not petty. He didn't go to Makkah to take revenge for those who persecuted him. He went to Makkah and liberated Makkah. Yusuf alayhi salam, when his brothers threw him to the bottom of the well, when he reached the heights of the throne, he didn't become petty. He understood he had to lead a nation through 7 years of drought to 7 years of prosperity. So that is what is required of us now. I will conclude with what I started. The Ummah is bigger now than ever before, 2 billion and counting. The Ummah is richer now than ever before. Yet 2 billion Muslims can't rescue 1 million people in Gaza. Why? Because we are more incapacitated, more enslaved, and more politically neutralized now than ever before. Can't make a move, politically, socially, or economically. What do we require to discover the glory days of Islam? We require leadership. But leadership is not only on the global political level. Every one of us has to up our game in terms of leadership. You're a leader in your house, you're a leader in your classroom, you're a leader in your masjid, you're a leader in your community, you're a leader in your business. And these are the qualities from the Seerah and Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam on leadership that I've shared with you. In the hope that if we all become leaders, you see, what was the recipe for success? Why is it today we can't make a move, even though we've got the numbers and we've got the wealth? You want to know? My humble analysis? It's because in every field, medicine, technology, science, we are dependent on others and they are independent of us. So we can't make a move. In the glory days of Islam, in every field and in every science, we were the leaders, independent of others, and they were dependent on us. When we were independent of others and the leaders in every field, then we took the values of Islam to every science, to every field, to every facet, and those values benefited not only the Ummah, but benefited all of humanity. So if we want to see prosperity in the Ummah, and we want to see prosperity in humanity, we have to rediscover these qualities of leadership from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's life story and imbibe it within our own individual lives. And the change starts from the bottom up. Then we'll see leadership. Then we'll see unity. Then we'll see strength. And then we'll see emancipation from oppression and genocide, inshallah. May Allah grant me and all of us the tawfiq. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka.